Welcome back to Healing in Spanglish. It's episode 21, and it's your hosts, Metzli and Ixchel, your Boyle Heights besties, figuring out what wellness looks like for us and our people.
So let's get real about healing in all the ways we weren't taught but deeply deserve. So the theme for today is talking about community in a world that feels so isolated. So we're going to dive into how we build community, why it has become so difficult in our generation, and some of the practices that we have implemented in our lives to build a community that loves and uplifts us every single day.
Yeah, and before we get into the topic for today, we're going to do our weekly check-in. First, we're going to start with our Spanglish word of the week. And the word we chose this week is comunidad. Yay. It is quite literally community in Spanish, but very similar and a cute word. I mean, we use it for a lot of
for everything.
Yeah. But obviously, yes, because we're talking about community, comunidad feels fitting. And I guess like thinking about the word, I don't know what it brings up for you, but for me, it's like warm and it's like unity or like togetherness. So I love the word.
Yeah,
community
I love
or
it
comunidad. Yeah,
just reminds me a lot of like my upbringing with my family and like going to Dolores Mission. And being a really tight community.
Yeah, we definitely tie community to like some physical spaces and some with like specific people too. Yeah, love that. And then what is our mini healing confession this week? What are you working on?
I am working on building on a schedule for myself and little routines because I am going through a transition right now. So I have more time to do what I love, but I've just been feeling like I struggle when I don't have a routine.
Right.
So I'm trying trying to build a routine for myself with this new journey.
Building routine takes a minute, you know? I think that's a great topic we could talk about in the future too, actually, because we should write that down. But seriously, it takes time. So I love that you're working on that, but it definitely takes time to figure out. And I feel like routine changes all the time too.
It does. You have to adjust.
Even as someone who has the same job for 3 years, I'm like, my routine has changed. Even within the, like it doesn't look the same. Our habits change or our interests change. So I get it. And for me, I'm actually sort of like the opposite side. I'm trying to let go of things. I'm trying to like relieve myself of some responsibilities and expectations, and I'm trying to free up my time more. I'm trying to like have more room to just like exist. And to not like have something every single, hour.
Every day,
And I feel like that's always how I've functioned. And so I just want to like clear up some time because anytime I think about something, I'm just like, damn, I wish I could do that. And I just like, I should be able to, but I just don't have like the capacity or like the energy. Yeah. So I want to get to that point. So that's what I'm working on.
Good for you. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah. I have some emails to send out today. I do, seriously. To say goodbye to some things for now. But that's what I'm working on.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yay. Cool. Well, on a little more lighthearted note, I'm curious, what is currently your favorite community space or just a community space that had a very significant role in your life?
There's a ton. I don't know if I have a favorite. I think one that I was thinking of more just like community space that I enjoy, that's just like light and just doesn't have really any expectations going into it. I love Caminarte, which is just the night markets that happen on First Street, where like Espacio, Supernova, all of them bring vendors outside their stores. We've been to many of them, even though a lot of us don't know the name is Caminarte, of like their actual like market or like vendor setup. And I just love it because it's one of the few places where like I don't go into it like expecting anything. I just go into it to just go and just be with other people. And I end up getting to meet really cool people, have conversations with strangers sometimes, get to meet vendors. And I like that it's like just an unstructured space. And it's a place where like I also see familiar faces. And I feel like that's sometimes I think of people that I see there and I'm like, I see you repeatedly. And like, that's how we're sort of building community with each other. Right? Like when I think of like Miriam or the other people there, who are like regulars, I'm just like, that anytime we see each other in that space, like we then like build on our relationship a little bit. But outside of that, it's not like we're doing anything together. So I think it's kind of cool that it's like unstructured, no pressure, but like I am forming relationships there in a very like loose way. So I like that.
I love that. Honestly, I just started going to those recently because of, I was busy with work. But yeah, on the same note, I would have to say, I think one that has just been significant to me is my gratitude group.
Yeah.
Also, that one also feels very low pressure because it's kind of
Yeah.
like everyone shows up, you do what feels good in your body, but we
Right.
do like sound baths together. We also journal, which brings in like almost 100 people that
That's
don't know each
crazy.
other, and we just journal and we share out into the community. And so it just feels like a very sacred place. I like to call it my church because it's like on a Sunday typically. But yeah, I just always feel so light in that space. Like just the energy walking is always very welcoming, and like folks are really willing to like chat with you. Like sometimes you're like next to someone and on the patch of grass and they like spark up a conversation. Cool. So yeah, it just feels like very safe to be like yourself, and I feel very seen and validated. But yeah, that's
I
my
love
little
that.
space.
That's great. Yeah, there's a ton of beautiful spaces, both whether it be informal, formal, or like just or repeated places that we go to, which I know we'll talk more about in terms of how we built community.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this topic.
Me too.
And I think one of the biggest things is when we think about building community, it's maybe a lot of people might agree with us. For some reason, even though we're in a time, I think, where like we are more connected than ever, where like, right, when we think about like technology, we get to see what people who might not even live in the same state as us are doing every day, right? Like where they're going to coffee shops, what they're doing throughout the day, or we know so much about people, even if they're just friends online, right? So I feel like more than ever before, we're so ultra connected.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is data and proof that like we are becoming less connected in different ways, or maybe in a different way, like feeling lonelier, feeling isolated. So it's like a double-edged sword. I feel like technology, convenience, all these different factors that sort of like, now this is how the world is, right? So I'm curious for you, what do you think are some of the biggest reasons why it's hard to build community right now? Like what are some of maybe the barriers or challenges that maybe either you've experienced or you know that people have experienced?
I would say that like I think one of the biggest ones is just talking about like the fact that we live under a capitalistic world, and you know, a lot of us are surviving like busy working 9 to 5. Some folks have 2 jobs. So I think that rush of life and having to feel like you have to hustle and hustle all the time because of just the state that we live in, I think it's the biggest barrier that hinders folks from building community. Because I think about like, even let's say like you have to walk your dog in the morning, right? Like you may be walking your dog, but you're like in a rush because you have to get
or you're like doing something while you're walking to get
while
it
you're
done.
walking. So I think like a lot of it is like people are surviving, and I think even building community is a privilege to be able to do because it requires time. It requires intentionality, inconvenience too, where like sometimes you might have to sacrifice your rest.
It's not the fastest thing to do.
Exactly. Like it does take energy. So I think like definitely capitalism is a big one that can hinder folks from building community. But I also think like a lot of it is, I think COVID really fucked up a lot of the way we interact with folks. I think social interaction sometimes might feel like they're very hard and awkward to have, especially when you like don't know folks. So I don't know. I'm just thinking, I guess, for like younger generations, when I think about like the kids that I worked with, like they really struggle sometimes to, you know, build those relationships. And I think a lot of it is like, if they're extroverted, it's easier, but if they're more introverted, it's hard for them to tap into those skills. So yeah, I think a lot of us are just figuring out how to start again. When we were, you know, like before COVID, it was a little bit different. But yeah, I think those are some big barriers that I can think of off the top of my mind. But yeah, it's so layered. There's so much that we can get into.
And I even think with COVID though, like that's the unfortunate reality where like, because of COVID and because of technology, we were able to still like go about our lives from home, which was great, right? Like we still could get some people, right? Not everyone, but can still work their job because people worked remotely now. So there was benefits to it where like, if something like that were to happen again, we know how to function, but at the expense of it, it did mean a lot of things have changed that, people now realize how like there's more convenience in being, let's say, working from home or being isolated. But in exchange, that also means like a lot of people don't want to move back to the way that we were before because we're so comfortable with the convenience, right? And I even think about just technology in general, like, which comes with like the productivity sort of culture here in the US. When we think about like people ordering in food, right? When we think about like, now you don't have to go shop for groceries yourself. You could get them like delivered. Obviously social media, and then also work from home, which I work from home 5 days a week. And it is so great where, in the sense, like, I get to be with my dog all day, and like that's super convenient where I don't have to hire someone to take care of my dog or take them out, or I don't have to worry about her. I get to cook while I'm here, right? Like there's so many great privileges, but it's at the expense that I often feel so alone here. And what my coworkers are like all across the country, like, there's only so much you can do to like build community that way.
Yeah.
We can try and, you know, try to do things virtually, but it's not the same, and it takes a lot more effort,
energy. Yeah, for sure.
And so, also, I guess to that point, when it comes to work, I think a lot of the ways that people build community now is not like through ways that we used to, right? Which is, people used to talk to their neighbors a lot more. People used to walk to the bus or walk to public transit, right? When there wasn't as many cars as there is now. And I think that requires you to engage with people more, to also support each other more. And there was more, like, I feel, shared communal responsibilities in neighborhoods. And now, because we have so many cars, because we also are isolated in our own homes, we don't have to engage with people as much anymore, you know? So I feel like that's also taken away like an opportunity to do that. Since we can do things without even interact, right? Someone delivers my food, I don't even need to interact with them.
I know.
They can just leave it outside for me, you know? Like, it's kind of trippy. And even to that point, like with neighbors, I don't know about you, but for me, when I first moved here to this home, I was like, our idea was we want to introduce ourselves to everyone in the neighborhood so that they get to know us. And like, we sort of psyched ourselves out of it because we were we did with the next door people, but like we wanted to with everyone else. And then like, it's just like, you know, I don't know, what do we say? What do we do? And like, we psych ourselves out of it. And then we just like didn't end up ever doing that. And now we're, you know, 2 years later, and now it feels too late. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like kind of weird because I also feel like the way we approach interacting with people around us, like neighborhoods or even on buses, is like, we don't want to inconvenience anyone. We don't want to like bother, right? I don't want to ask you for a favor, when like before that's what everyone did. Like,
we spoke to each other,
did things for each other, like neighbors, you know. But I don't know, how is it for you, because you live more in like a community. But like, do people engage a lot, like support each other, help each other?
I think like I think we've not, I wouldn't say forced, but because a lot of us grew up going to the schools that were literally right across the street. So like, you know, we saw like our parent conferences, we would bump into like our neighbors. So yeah, we do engage a little bit. Obviously there's like old friends, I guess I would say, that like I don't speak to anymore, but like if they're, you know, I'll like wave at them, or like at least I'll talk to, like, say hello to their parents and acknowledge them. But for the most part, I talk to most people around
but
me.
that's because you live in a communal setting.
Yeah,
you know?
but
like,
I also think
cool.
It's like, because not everyone says hello. I will say that.
That's
individual.
But
I think like here's the thing, because I think growing up in the US, I feel like what's pushed on us is like individualism, where it's like you have to fucking figure it out on your own. You don't need to rely on other folks. Like, you have the autonomy to make it out. And so I think that culture has been very detrimental to the way we rely on humans. Like, we need people to survive, whether it's like the interactions or, you know, somebody giving you a favor in exchange for something else. So I feel like a lot of that sometimes like was ingrained into me growing up, and I was more like shy and I wouldn't really say hi. But my parents have always been like, you need to be respectful of people, whether it's just you saying good morning, and if they don't respond, then it is what it is.
They don't respond.
Like, what's important is that you offered that hello to them. So I always say hi to the señoras. Like, they probably don't even know my name, but I'll say hi, like if I'm walking my dogs. And so everybody knows us. And so they even know my dog. And I think it's also helpful because I've noticed in my community that like sometimes like our neighbors will look out for us. Like there's times where I've accidentally left like my light on in my car, and like my next door neighbor would be like, hey, your light's on. So it's like, to that degree, I think like talking and, you know, building community with your neighbors also keeps you safe in some ways.
For sure.
So yeah, but it just depends. Like, it is definitely like an effort where you have to be like, I have to be intentional about saying hi to the folks around me.
But I think you're right for sure that like it is sort of like there is a heavier individualism culture here, where like, right, even on the bus, like people are wearing their headphones or wearing something that sort of, it doesn't open the opportunity to like say hi. Like, why I'm gonna be like, hey, like take off your headphone, you know? You know?
I just imagine that.
Like, if you think about someone wearing headphones versus a book, I'd rather like, it feels more approachable, someone who's doing something that's not so like blocking off right? Even when we think about the gym, like I'm not gonna ask someone something if they're wearing headphones. Like, you know? So like, we also live in that culture where like we don't want to bother each other. Like, we don't want to be inconveniences to one another, but that's like the wrong mindset that like people are moving towards. Because I agree, like neighborhoods are actually so essential to like the livelihood of your also safety. Because me too, like when we've been gone for a week at a time, like they took in our trash cans for us and we didn't even ask them, like, you know, like they did that for us, or they'll look out. And so it is so important. But it sucks that some people, I know, you know, I have some neighbors that like don't talk to any, like you can see, you know, especially someone who works from home 24/7, like I see everything. So like I feel like I know, like, you know, folks. but because of that, it is so interesting to see how like when you do make relationships with them, it really does help both ways, right? And I think we also lost like this system of trading. I love trades. I love trades. And by that I just mean, even as simple as it is, if it's like, you know, you have 3 trees here and like I could get some of your fruit because you're not going to use it, and you need your dog walked or something, like exchanging trades. Because now we do everything like through monetary, like we have to pay everyone for everything, instead of like, I have this skill, you have this skill, why don't we like help each other instead of like just having to pay each other. It just creates less of like a relationship and more of like a exchange, you know? And I just wish like we did more trading, you know? And I love when someone's down to do like, okay, you're good at that, I'll check your resume. And you know, like, you know, we can do it in exchange for each other. And I just wish like that was something that people did a lot before, because that's how you survived.
That was like money back then.
Exactly. And also technology. There was no technology. So you needed the support or like folks, knowledge and wisdom from other people to help you get through things. So
I know.
I just wish we like traded more.
I do. I literally say, even like at home, I was thinking about that today, because there are just like a lot of food banks around me, like in local communities that do it. And so some of the señoras will sometimes go on a date, and we might miss a date, and my mom will go over there and be like, do you have like an ajo? And then my mom will exchange like some tortillas with them, or my mom will give them on another day. And I'm like, I just think there's something so wholesome about that.
And you're helping each other survive. So I get exactly what you mean. I literally, because I'm here all the time, when I sit outside, there's this neighbor, there's like 2 houses between them. One neighbor brings like a whole pot of something, of food, to one neighbor. And then and she comes back with a different container, and I'm like, they're for sure trading.
Yeah,
and I think it's just like so cute. Like they're for sure trading, and it's like a daily thing. Like I love it. I'm like, whatever they're cooking up, and they're cooking up, they're sharing.
Like, sign me up.
I know. I'm like, we all trade.
That's hilarious.
But I think it's just so cool. Like it's more meaningful, it's more thoughtful, and it's actually like you get to learn something from each other.
Also keeps you alive. Like these are the relationships we need in our life.
Exactly.
Obviously, living in Boyle Heights, we have seen a lot of changes in our community. So I'm curious, like what you can talk about that has also affected our ability to connect with people around us.
Yes, I think one of the main things for sure that we see not only in Boyle Heights, but in a lot of like low income communities or working class communities is obviously gentrification. Communities quite literally physically changing, right? Who's coming in here, who owns the actual buildings and property here. And I think too, like, I don't know about you, but so obviously after 18, I like didn't live at home anymore. Every year I've been moving somewhere else, basically, right up until like now with this home. But I was constantly moving because there's rising costs, right? Like the rent changes, things change. There's so much more like change happening. And I think too, like even living here for 2 years, I saw one of my neighbors like move out. I see like 2 houses for sale. Like, I think just like the rising costs in general, and it being obviously a factor of gentrification and different people coming in and people who have money to buy out, you know, property and home. It also kind of hinders the ability to like form long-term relationships, right? Because people are always moving, people are always leaving, people are getting pushed out. As we see more and more people are moving out of like the urban inner city and are moving more to like suburbs, or forced to move to places like
the IE,
Bakersfield, IE, and that means that there's like less, I think, ability to like form longer relationships with people around you. If people are leaving every year or every other year and it's new people, you have to like rebuild that trust with people and rebuild that, you know? So I think that's like something that does affect our ability to like build community here, especially as we see things changing in Boyle Heights. I think the other thing, right, both sides, I think in some ways there are more third spaces that are coming, right? Like there are more places and spaces that are becoming not only a business, but also a space to gather, right? When we think of our coffee shops, they are very active when it comes to being responsive to the needs of the community, right? And I think that's so beautiful. But also on the flip side, we see a lot of businesses continuing to close, right? Earthy Corazon was a third space that a lot of us utilized, and that hosted events, but we continue to see a ton of them close down. So I think in some ways, like, we're also losing third spaces that have been so essential to so many people. And it also, again, forces people to rebuild those relationships or community elsewhere, right? Since they had such a big community. And they're not the only ones, right? There's so many other places. Like, there was also Rearte on Chavez, which was like a bookstore. But she hosted a ton of really cool events there as well. And she was forced to move out because of the landlord. We think about, there's also Corisa's bar that was here. Shelas, that was also a place that everyone talks about till this day. And because of the landlord situation, was forced out. So I'm like, in some ways, yes, there are more third spaces that are existing, but we're also getting a lot of them taken away from us. There's also Malinali, which was my favorite indigenous plant-based food spot. It was like one of the only ones in East LA, Boyle Heights, you will ever find right now. And they're gone. And I was just like so heartbroken because that was like my favorite food spot. And it's just like so sad because that's also community space that was teaching us about like indigenous practices of eating plant-based diets. And I was just like, dude, we lost that. Are you kidding me? Like, so I just feel like those are some of the things that are changing, obviously. Our ways of being able to build community. It is constant effort. It is constant, like, reforming relationships as places, disappear. So those are some of the big things that I think of that might have changed in our community. I don't know if there's anything else you could think of that like sort of has shifted for us, but
no, honestly, you probably touched on everything.
Those are big ones. Cool. And I think that gave us like a great foundation for understanding how community has been harder to form. There are challenges, there are things that have tried to prevent us from being able to build community, which I think also important for us to name and actually talk about, because it's probably different for a lot of people. What does community even mean to you? Like, what does that feel like to you? What comes to mind, right? I think sometimes, I don't know if you've seen this on social media, I've been getting all these videos about like, this is what community building is, and this is not what community building is. I guess because there's like places that are like claiming this is community building, but they're not actually building community. You haven't seen that?
No.
Oh, it talks about basically the difference between like actual events that are building community and ones that are like claiming, to build community with people here, but it's like it's not centered around the people. Like, it's not like you're doing things for people to gather. It's like a ticketed event that's like
profiting.
It's profiting, but like there's no actual community building. So anyways, all this to say is, what does community even mean to you? Like, what does that feel like? Because I'm sure it might differ for a lot of people.
I think, I don't know if there's like a definition of it exactly, but the way I like to see it is just a safe, non-judgmental space where people make you feel welcomed. So whether it's, like you were talking about, going to like a caminata event where it's like, you will see people that remember you. Remember something as simple as like somebody remembering your name is like really important to me. But I think it's just being able to share space with like-minded folks with like similar like identities and being able to connect, whether it's through a shared activity or you're just there to witness something that you both have like in common. But I think I define it just as a place where truly folks are not here to judge you. Like, they're just really here to be open-minded and welcome you. But that's like I feel like it's very simple. It's nothing crazy, but
I love that. I think what like I thought of too when I thought about community is like acceptance, which is like basically what you're saying. Because I think something that I recently discovered too is trying to figure out like, where are there spaces where I feel like I am actually my true self and like am embraced maybe more like as the person I am, versus where are there spaces where maybe like performing, right? Like sort of like whether it be code switching or having to sort of like hold back or feeling like, okay, I know I'm not going to like say this right now because like people might not, I don't know, like react to it well, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I've been, when I was thinking about this, I was trying to figure out like, actually, I feel like there's some spaces where I feel like my true self, where I'm like, oh my God, I can just like be me. Like I can be loud and I can like laugh and like, no one's going to judge me for those things. And like, I'm embraced for those like things that I bring, versus some places where I'm like, okay, I feel like I have to
Filter yourself.
filter myself, like maybe be more, I think when I think for myself, I'm like, okay, be more calm or be more, right? Like that's like something that I sort of like shut down. And I think about work, like,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
I think about my job where like, am I building community there truly? I don't think so. Not a lot, at least, because with certain people, I'm like, I don't feel like I can be myself. I definitely find myself like, oh, I'm just not going to say anything, or like, I find myself like afraid to speak. And I'm like, if I'm truly in a place where I feel like this is community, I don't think I'd be afraid because I'm not a person who's usually afraid to like say something. So if I am, I'm like, that's a good cue. You probably feel like you're going to be judged, you know, and for a reason that maybe you have already been, or their behavior, you know? So I feel like trying to distinguish like where you're accepted versus and embraced versus like judged, like you're saying, is super important.
It's really hard. Yeah. And I think with work too, it's very interesting because I think, you know, depending in the field that you're in, but like I could speak that like in some spaces that I've been, like, you know, we do community work. So by default, they like to also use that within the workspace.
Right.
But yeah, it's a fine line. It's very tricky where it's like some people make you feel unsafe to be yourself. And I've experienced that so much where I had to filter certain versions of myself and somebody wouldn't like that. And I'm like, well, I don't feel safe to be myself. And this is a boundary, you know? So it's very difficult because it doesn't have to be at work just because you spend 8+ hours. Like there's so much community that you can build outside that you might find folks that you relate to even more. But yeah, it's very interesting.
I think you just said a really great point about how like we default to like work being a place that we can build community. And I was thinking about that too, how like I think we default to whatever places or spaces we already like the bulk of our time is spent, and like automatically default that like that's where we should build community, or that's like a way that, or that's like a place where we need to, where I feel like that's sort of the convenience part of what we do these days, where like we build community in places that we just like have to go to, right? Like work. I also think like school, like, yes, you can find community in all these places. But when I think about high school, I'm like, we're all forced to be there. Like, we're not like genuinely trying to like form, like, it's not like we go there with that intention, right?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
And I just feel like now I'm walking out of high school, you know, and I'm like, how many friends do I know from high school that I talk to often? Probably like less than a handful, right? You know, so it's just like, I didn't go in there to make community, but like that's a part of the experience, but it's not why you're there per se, right? You're there for like your education, right? So the point is, I feel like we convenience ourselves with trying to find community in places where we like need to go to, whether that's like shopping or that's like, right? Like we don't do it the same way where it's like just to exist, like just to exist together, right? Which is what you say, like with gratitude group or caminarte, like these are places where you intentionally go to do that. Whereas these other places, like, yes, you can build community at work and in school, etc. But it's not like you're going there necessarily with that intention. Like that's not the first priority. First priority is money or education in those spaces.
Exactly.
So I think that's a really good point because it doesn't need to default to like work per se.
And I think that's like like the convenience thing. I think like folks think because you can build it there. You're already there. You can, for sure. I'm sure people can meet wonderful people at work.
Some people probably do. Yeah.
And then also I think it's like the fine line of like your brain also knowing that it's not related to work all the time, right? Like finding different spaces, whether it's a third space or whatever it is. But I like that.
And I also add, I think energy is a big thing. Like I think I am trying to trust my intuition more, where like when I'm in a place and like I'm reading energy, just like myself, like how is this making me feel right now? Like, do I feel calm? Do I feel like anxious? Like, am I questioning, like, should I say something? Should I not? Do I feel like peaceful? Right? Like, I think also like just reading off of energy, like trusting yourself. Like, and it doesn't have to be ultra negative, right? Like when I think about college, where when I was a freshman in college, I was trying to look for a community space to be a part of. And I tried out a bunch, right? I tried out a Latina sorority. I tried out Hermanas Unidas. I tried out Mecha. And I went to all the places and I could make my own judgment of like, like, I don't know if I feel like this is the right place for me, even if there's nothing wrong with it. But then at one place, I'm like, ooh, like this feels exciting. I feel like connected in terms of maybe like values, how you mentioned earlier, like identity, like similar identities shared, right? So I think like also, it doesn't have to be like extreme where it's something negative, but also just like finding the place that like you feel like fits like your needs is also like important even outside of college, which is a little bit harder, but like you gotta maybe like with run clubs, you can't just like go to the first run club and think like, that's it, I'm done. Like this is the one, unless it is, but like go check out a bunch of them,
Yeah.
maybe even if you live in Boyle Heights, you find community with one in Montebello. Who knows? Like maybe you feel more connected there, and like you just kind of like, we always default to convenience, but it's like, girl, you could drive 3 more minutes and maybe you're like actually feel more excited to be that, like you just never know. So yeah, I don't know. Just think about how like, yes, it always goes back to like convenience and what you actually love and enjoy and like feel good in versus like just whatever is like closest to you or fastest. Yeah,
I know. And then sometimes it's even crazy in those community spaces because you meet people that are like commuting from so far, and you're like, "What the fuck?
Why are you here going that far?" Because I love it here. Like it's true.
And it's
people
true.
already
So
do that.
Damn, like I meet so many people like that. I'm like, wow, you really make that effort. Like maybe I should fucking tap into that too.
That's true. I always sometimes question people for coming so far. I'm like, you're crazy.
They're like,
I'm like, damn, they probably like,
and that is
really
the price
love that space.
They pay. Like it is inconvenient
it's worth
sometimes. Where you have to drive, and I think that's another conversation we have to have about community too, where it's like it's inconvenient, whether it's like you're tired from fucking work on a long day and you really want to go home, but there's this community event that everybody is going to, and sometimes those events, like you were saying, like fill your cup more energetically, and like you leave end up out of there like feeling way better. So it's like sometimes a little bit inconvenience.
Exactly.
Obviously being in a community has you feeling some type of way, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm curious, what makes folks feel welcomed in a community space?
I think like one of my default experiences that comes to mind, like recent ones, is run clubs. Like when I first moved back from the Bay Area, because I was living there for like a year, I was trying to find like a run club to be a part of. And what I really loved about like one of the run clubs that I went to was people like approached me and said hi to me. And I think that makes such a big difference. And I've even witnessed other people who do that. And I'm like, dang, like you're talking to everyone right now. Like that's beautiful. Like you're making sure that you make each individual person feel seen. And just like acknowledged. And I think like when I saw that, I too, like once I was like a regular at the run club, I was like, if I see someone new, I'm going to make sure to say hi to them, because that made a big difference for me to just be noticed and like congratulate, dude, like good job for running the 3 miles. Like that was a rough route, like just like saying something, acknowledging them, I think is a big difference, which is why like even for our events, I'm like, we need to, like our role at events is to say hi to everyone. We need to make sure that like someone who came from who knows how far they came to be here hoping that they get to connect, right? Imagine they leave and don't even get to talk to anybody.
I know.
Like, I want to make sure that like people feel like we see them, because it's true, and we want that too. So I just think like that's one of the most simplest things that makes such a big difference for me to feel welcomed, at least like initially, in like a community space. I love that. I think also, this is like a longer term thing, right? Like to feel welcomed into a community or like accepted, to be valued. I think like that, again, that's like a longer process of like building that trust with people. But I think maybe even putting value in the sense of like, asking someone to like share their own experience or to step up into like a role of, right. I'm using running analogies, but like, to be a pacer and like trusting you that like you can do that. And I think like just like building, I don't know, like different roles or different ways of like you also engaging in the space. That's maybe more specific for running, but I just think about like when, I don't know, I think about like icebreakers or ways to like get to know someone. I think that's really like essential to like helping start to initiate community building, like a reason to talk to a stranger. And a lot of the times you end up finding something similar to the person, or something that like gives you reason to talk back about later, So I don't know. Those are some of the simple things I think of that have made me feel welcomed. I don't know if there's anything else that comes for you, like when you enter, like what about gratitude group made you feel welcomed?
I think it was just the openness and vulnerability.
Vulnerability is a big thing. Yeah.
When we share like our journaling prompts or our little thoughts, like typically some folks share very vulnerable things, and I think just knowing that another human that I don't even know
is like willing to just like
share, and also we might be sharing similar things, where it just makes me feel so validated in my own experience as a human. So I think it's like that. So just I don't know. I think people just being open is what really helps me feel like welcome, but definitely like the acknowledging people like as they come in, or you know, checking in with everyone, or if somebody remembers my name, like
no, that is a big one.
That is really sacred.
It's like, damn.
Yeah, or like
you made the effort.
Yeah, or what I really appreciate is like, because my name is difficult to pronounce, right? And people forget all the time. I would rather somebody be like, hey, remind me of your name. I just want to make sure I didn't pronounce it wrong. Like that is like very special to me. And I think sometimes folks are afraid of, I'm like, I'm not going to bite. But, you know, like simple things like that. Like, I think it just shows that you truly care and value everybody in that space. So yeah, it's just very like, it's not even rocket science. It's like very simple practices that we can do like in community spaces.
Right. I love that. And I think this is something like a topic that we've talked about is super important to us, that we do both. Like, I want to acknowledge it is important. And this is why we even say, if anyone has paid attention to like the way we end like our episodes, we always like say to like, it's so important to do healing work alone and, you know, on your own.
Yeah.
Because that is essential, right? There is also this like growing amount of people who are journaling, who are meditating, visualization, all these beautiful things that are also practices that I agree are so essential. I don't think you could just depend on other people in order to grow, to heal. You know, you need to do it on your own too. Yeah. However, there's also equal importance in like doing it collectively, which I think is why we stress like, yeah, this is beautiful because we're talking to people right now who are listening probably on their own, right? Like you're probably either listening in a car or while you're cooking or walking, right?
Yeah.
On your own. Which is at least how I listen to podcasts on my own. But that's why we think it's also equally important that we do it collectively, because there's this other piece where like community is so important, you know, to do it with other people, to build trust over time, to depend on each other, to feel supported, to be able to ask for help and also receive help. So I think like that's why it is so important too, that we have like these in-person interactions with people, because we can't expect to build community just through, you know, just in isolation. We also have to do it with each other in order to like grow, to feel and strengthen like those relationships. So I think it is something that is so important to us in that way. To sort of wrap up the topic on comunidad for today, I also, for those who are wondering, you know, and thinking for themselves like, dang, like I want to build more community, I'm still maybe struggling a little bit, or you want to strengthen it. I think the best way to learn about that is through our own lived experience, like what has worked for us and what hasn't. So I'm curious for you, Ikshad, like what do you think has worked in your own experience to work towards building comunidad? What are like maybe more clear, actionable things that like you've done specifically that actually have helped you maybe build the community that you have now?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. It took me years.
Yeah.
But I think for sure the first thing I did is just trying to figure out what I really liked. So I knew that like I was into meditating, journaling, being in the outsource space. So looking for communities and spaces that are already doing those things.
That you love.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's also, you know, I'm a person of color, so it's very important for me to be in spaces where folks look like me. So just following a lot of pages on Instagram was kind of like the way I found those specific spaces, because it's really hard. I think there's still people in our community that want to see that, but it's hard to build it. So that was another thing I did. And honestly, just showing up consistently was the thing. Like I needed to make sure whether it was I'm going once a week or twice a week, depending on like my schedule, but just making sure I'm like going there intentionally. And as an introvert, I made it a goal of mine to also like say hello to somebody new every time I was there. Or if like, you know, sometimes you do this thing where it's like you saw someone at an event, but you didn't really introduce yourself, but you guys like made eye contact or have seen each other consistently. Like taking the initiative to be like, hey, I've seen you around at this community space. So yeah, I mean, I think it's been consistency of like showing up to these spaces, and like little by little you start meeting people, start talking to people. But yeah, I think just really also leaning into like, if there's ever an icebreaker or like activities, like those are activities for the most part, and organizers putting them together so that you can talk to people. So I think just being more intentional about that. So if there's ever an opportunity that I can, just speaking to somebody new. But yeah, it's been like trial and error, honestly, but it's just been a matter of being able to show up as myself and be there consistently, and also taking my own energy to interact with folks, because it does take a lot more for me to do that. But just knowing that at the end of the day, the more that I do that at the beginning, the easier it gets gets like throughout the years.
Yeah. Honestly, and I like that you used social media as an example of like finding places, because like that's the way we can help utilize this technology for the better of us, like going in person somewhere. Because I agree, that's how I find a lot of things, like events. I'm like, oh great, like this event is happening, now I can go and like actually do it. But like actually making sure that you go past just like seeing it online and showing up in person, you know?
It's honestly the reason why everybody tells me like, how do you know so much about so many events? I'm like, I literally, if you look at my following count, it's like 1K plus.
I'm following a bunch of
because
orgs.
I follow orgs. I turn on the reminder, and now Instagram I think makes it even easier for you to cater your feed, so you can ask it to show you only like certain people.
Or just who you follow,
so it's like you can cater it, but you do have to be on it, because like, you know, if posts come out on like Thursday, and just making sure you're on it if there's like an RSVP and stuff like that. But that was my biggest one.
Or also if like, let's say you don't have social media or don't want to, whatever, you don't want to like just find events on social media, a lot of like libraries, coffee shops, they have a ton of flyers usually too, like where they post up like the different events that are happening. There's also newsletters if you prefer like via email. Like I get a lot of my events from email actually, because there's a ton of newsletters, whether it be from like the LA County Library, and they have like a whole list of events, or the Chamber of Commerce that like sends emails of like the different events coming up, or like their meetings. So honestly, there's so many different ways. It could be social media if that works for you. It could also be newsletters. It could be in person and like finding what's going on. Usually people like drop flyers, you know, so bulletins, whatever it may be. So parks, you know, there's a bunch of places.
I also think there's a really important one that we're not talking about, but there's a creator online called Boyle Heights Bestie.
You're silly. I was like, what you gonna talk
about? She does a weekly like post and she's your event plug in the community. So following people that are like already doing these things, like
and there's a lot. There's a lot. And I feel like once you see someone post events, like that's what I do too. Like I follow their events page too, because that's how I find out about more stuff too. You're hilarious for that. Anyways, back to the question though. I totally agree too. I think like some of the ways that have helped me also build community, one is initiative. Like I think whether it be an extrovert or introvert, it's actually not always easy to approach people. And I think it's still scary, right? Like it's just like you fear of rejection, or like just like, you know, having to like do it, because also culturally, right, we also like maybe have these ingrained sort of like ideas that like, oh, like what if they say no, or I shouldn't probably do that and bother them. And so I think like it is hard to initiate. So there are different ways you can do that, right? I think like, you know, I live in my thoughts a lot, and I say a lot of things in my head like, oh my God, I really like what that girl's wearing, but I don't say it out loud. And I want to, and I have been challenging myself to like actually say those thoughts out loud instead. Because honestly, if I were to compliment someone what they're wearing, I doubt they're going to be like, oh, you know, they're probably like, oh my God, thank you, you know? So I feel like I also, one way that like, even if it's too hard to say like, hi, my name is, and then just like don't know what to do, you can also do it in different ways, right? Whether it be complimenting someone, or something that they're doing, what book are you reading, or, you know, something like that might be a little bit maybe less scary to do, but you find the way that like feels comfortable to approach a question. And for me, it is a little bit easier maybe to like compliment someone, or to approach it less of like a how are you, but more like, you know, something mutual maybe that I see. So I think initiation though is so important. Like it is something that like you have to challenge yourself to do, and once you do it, it's not so bad.
It's like a muscle. Practice it.
And I think honestly, it's easier practice to do it on like neighbors. I feel like most will like be open to like, if you say hey, as soon as we start saying hey, like they always say hi, you know? So I feel like it's easy to practice maybe around people around you who already familiarity, right? Like that see you all the time. Like we're probably wondering the same thing. Like, who are you? You know? And then I also agree consistency. Like I think repetition is so important. It doesn't need to be every day by any means, and it doesn't need to be even every week. But even if you're just showing up somewhere, you know, you're there, you're going to see people who are also there at the same time. And this could be super informal, like a coffee shop if you go on Fridays, and like there are going to be other people there who also go on Fridays. Or also you can build community with even baristas. Like we've built community with people who work at the places that we go, right? Whether it's a panaderia, and like I buy the bread from you all the time. Like we got to know each other. The guy on the corner who sells flowers, like we know him, or the guy who sells pollo. Like you can build community with people who even, it doesn't have to be formally like a circle of us together, right? There can be so many different ways, right? Or even caminarte. I don't necessarily know people like that or plan like, hey, I'm gonna see you there. But when I'm there, I see someone I might know and like, hey, how are you? And like you learn more and more. So I think just like repetition, showing up again, that's why I feel like, dude, run clubs, walk clubs, like they're so good at that because they see each other every week, if not more, you know, like they go like 2 or 3 times a week. And so that's why I feel like the run club community is so strong because they see each other all the time. They're always running, they're together, you know? So I think like you can find the ways that make sense for your boundaries, how often. But whether it's like monthly, right? I know gratitude group is like what, weekly or monthly? Yeah. Okay. That's great. You probably see similar people there even on a monthly basis. I mean, there's so many clubs now, hiking groups, you know, even spaces like Avenue 33. Like there's spaces that you can like show up repeatedly and build relationships with like even the hosts. So the people who like actually are in charge of the event. So I think repetition is so important.
I think another thing I just want to add is also volunteering. You can really meet so many cool people when you volunteer.
So you already share value together.
You're doing the same thing. Like I volunteered with Ascot Hills in the past. And I always meet so many cool people there. And so you can build your own community just by giving back to the own community you're trying to build.
If anything, that's even easier because like you're there sort of with a purpose of like supporting, but like naturally there are other people there too doing it. So volunteerism is such a great way.
Super cute. I love it. And on the same note of like volunteering, I think it's also really important to acknowledge that in communities, like it has to be a reciprocal relationship. Because I think that, you know, like the people who are organizing these things are pouring into it. And so I think like, I don't want to say expectation because I feel like in communities there shouldn't be like these crazy expectations. But I think like the what I've noticed or what I like to practice is being able to also give to the community, whether it's like monetary, if like they have a donation link where I can donate like money, if they always bring food or something. So just making sure that I'm also giving parts of myself for the, you know, the love of the curation of that space, but also even if it's like a skill, right? If you're like in a community space, like when I think about like gratitude groups sometimes, like they don't charge us for like a sound bath. Like that's somebody who comes in and appreciates the space and it's like, how can I offer something else to this community space? Because I think like a lot of us have a lot of beautiful things that we can offer, and it's more beautiful when it doesn't feel transactional, where it's like I can bring this skill to uplift the folks in this room, and then in return maybe somebody else can help me with something. Just like I think also that's really important to make sure that like that community is supported long term.
Well, I think that is also community building. Like I think also like and I even thought this too and was asking myself like, what do you also individually bring into the space? It doesn't need to be a bunch of pressure of like I need to bring something. No, but like right, either it's like supporting their existence, right? That's how we support small businesses, like you know. But yes, I love that even if it's offering something that you're good at. Even when I think of like Josh, he has like his tea business. And even though he might not intentionally think like I'm doing this to build community, but like he offered tea to like a men's circle that he just like, cause they gave him the space and then he does that in exchange. It's like, dude, you're offering your services back in whatever capacity that like you have something to offer. So I think that's so cool. And I think like in whatever capacity that it looks for us individually, like being able to offer it as well.
It's like the community fills your cup and then you can also
fill theirs too.
The community's cup.
Exactly. I love that.
Okay. Now we're going to jump into our fun activity to close it off. So what are some quick fire things you can say right now that are like practices to build community?
I think I said it earlier, complimenting someone, that's like so easy. I think we both agree like that's an easy one, and also a little bit challenging, but saying my thoughts out loud. I wrote them down because I'm not going to remember these things. Finding a balance of driving less, like if there are ways I could take, even if it's like not all the time, but like on the weekend, take the metro, even though I have a car, like do it just to like do it and like walk around. I loved when I was able to run and walk because I met so many people. Like I talked to more people that way. Now I feel like more isolated. So definitely like running, walking, taking public transit when I can. I want to become more of a local at like a regular spot. So I feel like that's a good challenge. Like try to become a local, not only in a community space, like, you know, like a formalized group, but just like a place where I buy something, like going there more consistently. Because I feel like I'm all over the place. Oh, and attending neighborhood meetings. I think I feel like I've actually met a ton of, like, one of my friends, April, like she's my good friend now, and I met her at a community meeting. Like that was the way I met her. So
really, I didn't know you guys met through there.
Yeah, we met at the neighborhood, the Chamber of Commerce meeting. So yeah.
Okay.
And what about you?
Yeah, honestly, very similarly.
Yeah.
I think for me is taking my headphones out, because sometimes when I walk my dog, like there are times where I think it's okay. Like by all means, like I need my time to decompress. But taking them out, where it's like sometimes, like you said, it's more of an open invite to talk to folks. Also saying hi to people if I'm like walking by them or just smiling at them, whether it's I'm like on my way somewhere. But I think just I think I used to do it when I was younger, but I hate like not acknowledging the existence of another human.
Yeah, it's so
while
weird.
We're right next to each other. Like it's so fucking weird. Like I'm like, this is what this fucking culture in the US wants us to be. They want
we literally do that like on the plane. You know, it's like I don't pretend, I don't know you're here, but like you totally are.
Or in elevators, you're like,
but it's like once you talk to them, it's like actually so nice.
Yeah, everyone is like, I think that people are really craving it. Obviously, you know, everyone is human. We are imperfect. We have our flaws. There might be some interactions you might.
They're like, leave me alone.
They're like, leave me alone, or it might be come off as like you're being stuck up, but you don't really know what folks are going through, right? But yeah, that is a big thing. Also, sparking up a conversation at a coffee shop is a big one. Like recently, I was at Akurukame and I was having the time of my life with this like older couple, and like I don't know what it was. We were just sitting next to each other, and she was admiring the mural, and it was Mr. Baby, and she's like, it's so pretty. Like she was like, I wonder who did it. I was like, oh, funny enough, I know the artist, and we started getting into it, and then they started recommending coffee shops to me, and then I recommended Uleu, and then it just became a very sweet moment where it's like it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just like small little things, and it just brings me so much joy knowing that I like literally just interacted and acknowledged somebody else's existence.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's great examples. Take one of them, take it and run with it. But yeah, so we're gonna close it out now, and we're gonna do our weekly local business shout out of the week. So who are you shouting out this week?
I am shouting out Cafecito Caracol, because we just hosted an event.
Coffee is so good.
I don't know what they
That was really good. I loved my drink.
Try their beet one?
I have not tried it yet.
Jamaica,
really?
It was so good.
Dude, I loved the coffee. I was like, whoa, one of my faves.
Yeah.
Like, it was great.
They really, like, I can tell how much love and care they have put into their business. Yeah, like, if y'all ever want to, you can follow them on Instagram, because they're not, like,
place orders. They just pop up. Yeah.
Yeah, but they pop
up. 3 months old, barely.
Yeah, they just started, but their logo is very, like, intentional. It's so beautiful. Even, like, the little story. Words says, like, revolutionary or something.
Yeah.
It's just super cute. Yeah, but big shout out to that.
Good one. Well, I have the other partner that was there at our We partnered recently for an in-person event with Avenue 33 Farms, which is in Lincoln Heights. They are so badass. They hosted a whole entire taste testing, like seasonal taste testing of the garden, so people got to try green beans from the actual growings of the actual beans themselves. Strawberries, mint, all kinds of stuff. It was so beautiful, and it was just like such a beautiful way to connect with earth. And they are just so badass. They are also similar to us, like friends probably because of work, but like you could tell they're really good friends. And I just think it's like so cool, and they're also young. They're also young, and like they know so much, and it's just they're so badass. So like shout out to them if you have not checked them out. They also have a weekly produce ¿cómo se llama? They have like bags that they sell on the weekends of their seasonal produce. So definitely support your local farmers markets sort of style. But yeah, shout out to them.
Yes.
And beautiful space. Yeah, beautiful space. And then what's your weekly wellness tip to folks?
My weekly wellness tip is to connect with your elders.
Go do that.
Yes, I have a family member. She's my mom's aunt, but I call her my aunt. She's like almost pushing 90.
Wow.
And
so
I went
much wisdom.
I went to go visit her. I feel like she has Alzheimer's, unfortunately. So it's been really hard for her to go through that. But recently I went to visit her, and like me and my mom had a very sacred moment where she was crying because she like held her hand. She was like, oh my God, your hand feels exactly like my mom's, just my grandma. So yeah, it was just a very beautiful moment to know that like there's so many generations before me who have done so much. And it was just a gentle reminder to be like, damn, like there's so many good things that I'm doing, and there's so much amazing things that I can do to like, you know, live up to the things and also break so many cycles. But I don't know, it was just a very beautiful moment. I'm like, oh, I love elderly people. Bless their hearts.
Gotta learn more from them for sure. And then my wellness tip is similar to our theme: to go initiate a conversation with someone, whether it be a neighbor, whether it be an elder, whether it be a person you see and are like, oh my God, we might be good friends. Go up to them and just like say something, compliment them, say hi, whatever you want to do, but like challenge yourself to do that so that it doesn't feel so uncomfortable and you actually get to normalize it. So that's the tip for y'all today.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us again. And hopefully these tips and tricks help y'all build community. Follow Boyle Heights Basti so you can stay up to date with the community events.
Thanks for the show.
And if you relate to it, feel free to share it to your primas, your homegirls, your mother, your father, your brother, your siblings, anybody.
Yes. And like always, healing is very personal, but it's also very collective, which is why it was so important that we talk about comunidad this week. Please make sure to follow us wherever you're listening, whether it be on Spotify, YouTube, please subscribe, or on Instagram and TikTok, where we keep you updated on all the events and episodes that we have coming up. So thank you so much.
Yes. Bye. Hasta la próxima con mucho amor.